Dan here with Jonny Phillips. How's it going, Johnny?
Pretty good. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing really well. This is a week that I am extremely excited about because nothing makes me prouder than to have an athlete of your caliber representing our team, the Heartbreakers, in, really the distance running United States Championships. It's the,
Yeah.
the U.S. Olympic trials for the marathon happening in Orlando this week. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good right now. So I had a real rough buildup. I rolled my ankle back in November and then kind of came back and haunted me through a lot of December. And so for most of December, I was kind of like, oh crap, am I going to be able to race at all? Because I'd gotten, an MRI and everything, and it was looking kind of sketchy. But then I got a solid prognosis, and the plan was essentially I had caught it early enough that I could take a couple weeks off and get back to training. And then after a couple weeks of training, I was feeling kind of fit, and things started to turn around. And then I was feeling pretty fit. And then after this weekend, I was doing a lot of thinking and sort of mental race prep. And I think I've been tempering my expectations a fair bit, and I'm not anymore.
Oh,
So I'm feeling ready. I'm getting excited. I'm getting pretty pumped. It does feel a little bit unreal because for a while there it was touch and go, and I was like, I don't know if I'll be able to run, or I don't know if I'll be able to race if I can run. And then I've had several solid to good workouts, and so you don't need to be fit. You just need to be ready, and that's how I feel right now. I feel ready.
Johnny, you wrote the book on the subject for the Heartbreakers, I can say. For those who are watching who maybe don't know your history, you ran as an undergrad at Cornell, you ran as a graduate student at Michigan, you
Mm-hmm.
are a founding member of our Flyers elite team, and you didn't just take that, you really strapped some of the team members on your back and have really coached up a lot of our runners to the as close as they can get to elite level status, and in the same at the same time coaching yourself up from or to I should say 40th place in the last Olympic trials. You ran a 2:20 on a day that was 83 degrees and extremely humid, good for 20th place in the Chicago Marathon. You ran grandmas in 2022 in 2:14. That's the official cue for this race here. And one of the things that I've always been just so impressed with around all of that sharing that you've done with the team and high level performance of your own is the calm steadiness and the mental game you bring. I think one of the things that I am always so impressed by is just you're a gamer. Is what I wrote in the Heartbreak email. Is you never crumble under pressure. You get out there and you do that thing you trained for. And to hear you say you feel a little underprepared, or you did feel that way before. Like I remember talking to you before grandmas, before you ran that lights out performance, that you had some struggles heading into that one. Can you talk about what that was and then how that affects your mentality going in this week?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hindsight's 2020. Grandma's was probably the fittest, maybe tied for trials in 2020, like the second fittest I had been in my life, and I was infinitely well prepared. But I got COVID 8 or 9 weeks out before that, and that affected my training. Obviously, I took 2 weeks essentially off of hard workouts, just easy running and kind of testing the waters. But I like entering marathons with a little bit of an underdog mentality. I like feeling a little bit underprepared, and that, not that I have something to prove, because I don't necessarily think that I have something to prove. I don't think that's necessarily the most sustainable way to approach racing year round. But I do think that kind of trying to punch up rather than maintain my position is how I perform best.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I think I'm a little bit more in an underdog position than I would have been, but I do know that I can get and stay really fit with cross training. I had a really fitful December, I should say, in the pool. I was in there hammering for like an hour 45, like most days. And so I kept my aerobic fitness like pretty high, and I learned how to cross train in the pool pretty effectively last year when I had another injury right before a marathon. And so I knew the best ways essentially to like stay fit, to stay ready. And then when I started training again, things haven't exactly clicked in all of my workouts, but I've been able to get back into like hard long runs way faster than I thought I'd be able to. And so things have really, like, I don't think I could go run a 10K PR right now, but I'm not racing a 10K, I'm racing a marathon. And I do feel pretty confident in that kind of fitness. And a lot of it is really, especially in these final weeks leading up to a marathon, like I have, 4 weeks of like good to solid workouts beneath me. And then before that, I have months and months and months of work that I can rely on. And so a lot of it is mentality. Like I have the capacity to do well. I have the capability to do well, whether I'm, 98% fit or 99% fit, like that doesn't really matter. What matters is what I bring on race day and whether or not I can show up and use that 98 or 99%, or if I kind of, come up against a wall. So that's what I'm looking for, is really just fine tuning the brain, like the haze in the barn at this point. I just got to make sure that when push comes to shove, I make the right decision.
So in Atlanta, another trip south, you placed 40th. Can you talk about what your goal was that day, how it went, and then what we're thinking going into Orlando, as much as you wish to share?
Yeah. In Atlanta, my goal, and I said this in front of a bunch of heartbreakers, and you texted me about it afterwards. I said my goal on an A+ day would be to be top like 30 to 40. And I was exactly 40th. But it was really about being patient. So the Olympic trials are a really unique race because not only is it the only time when all of the Americans are all together running the same thing, it's a race where a lot of people who are pretty good and maybe not quite Olympic caliber, but are significantly better than me, are going to be running stupid races, which is great because normally those people are going to be a couple minutes ahead of me, or I would be reaching to try to push them. But they're taking a calculated risk that if I were in their shoes, I would also take. But my goal is to beat those people because for a lot of them, it's not going to work out.
Right.
And so between Atlanta and now, I have become much better as a runner. Like I know I've PR'd by a lot. I think the people who I beat at Atlanta have since learned who I was and like learned my name ever since, Atlanta, Chicago, and Grandma's came around. I wasn't just someone who had run kind of fast and was, had barely qualified for the Olympic trials. I've now qualified by a fair margin. And so I think I'm more of a known for a lot of those people now, but I'm still not planning on racing with them. I have a very similar race plan. I hope to be a little bit farther up through halfway than I was in Atlanta, but the strategy is basically the same. I'm patient. I'm going to remain patient. And then when a move needs to be made, I'm going to make that move and I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to show up. And so that's the race strategy.
Okay, Jonny. I love it. I can't wait to see it unfold on TV. We'll have a crew down there. I'll be here at the official watch party in Newton, Massachusetts. But you're going to have definitely some fans. I was going to say course side.
Yeah.
And can't wait to see our gamer in action on game day. So good luck down there, Jonny, and thank you so much for representing and leading this team as you do.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Okay. Did that do it?
Nice.
I think I did it. Oh, hold on. What am I doing here?